It's Krista with Botanical Bird, and this week I want to talk about packing up plants. All right, well, time to clean this up. The things I do for plants, y'all. So as I've mentioned a bunch of times, my boyfriend and I are moving in together, and I figured that since this is my second move with plants this summer, this time I would take you guys along and show you what my process is for packaging them and transporting them and everything like that. So obviously you're gonna need a bunch of different materials for this process. You'll need boxes of different sizes, plastic wrap, packaging tape, scissors, bubble wrap, and plants. So I think the first important part about packaging your plants to move is considering the box. I really like the long, skinny, shallow boxes. I have a bunch from Planterina just from ordering plants. Not sponsored by them, but Planterina, if you want to, I am here. Amanda, let me know. So I really like the shallow boxes because it keeps the pot in place for most plants, but then it doesn't mess up the foliage. So the idea is that I want to find a bunch of plants that the pot is about this size. I'm not going to put tiny plants in here unless I put a bunch of them because I don't want there to be a lot of extra space and have them shaking around. So picking a box that fits your plant, I put bigger plants in bigger boxes. For a box like this that's really tall and slender, I would put, I'll show you actually the kind of plant that I want to put in it. So consider your box size and what sort of plants it would go well with. So let's start with this small, shallow, slender box. So I have this here, Dracaena marginata, and it fits like perfectly in here. So I'm gonna stick it in there. And the first time I moved, I bubble wrapped every pot that I had because I wanted to make sure that they were so safe. Since this is my second move this summer, I'm a little bit more confident, and I think I'm only gonna bubble wrap the plants that are in the middle of the box so that every plant has a buffer with bubble wrap around a plant that's next to it, but I don't really see the purpose of every single plant being bubble wrapped. Now, if you're moving states or you have a really long drive to move, you might want to do that. I'm moving like 20 to 30 minutes away and I'm driving all the plants myself, so I don't really think it will be necessary. But so since it's going to have another plant next to it that is also made of like ceramic or stone or something, I will be bubble wrapping this plant next to it. Another thing I could do is choose a plant that is in a grower's pot and put it next to the pot that is made of some fragile material because that can also act as a buffer. So I'm going to get, I already have pre-cut bubble wrap sheets from my last move. Ta-da! And what you want to do is wrap the bubble wrap around the pot like so. And then get your handy dandy packaging tape and your scissors and then just tape the ends. So that's secure. And I'm just gonna fold the part on the bottom, and I might even tuck in part of the bubble wrap on the top into the pot to try to keep it just secure and make sure no dirt falls out. And then I just put it in there, push it snug against the other plant so that neither of them will move, and then grab another plant that will fit in the space that's left. Perfect, nice and snug. So now none of the pots are going anywhere. I have to be a little bit careful how I put it in the car to try to protect the foliage as much as possible, but that's a start. Another thing that I did for all of my plants last time that I don't know that I'm gonna do for every single plant this time is saran wrapping or plastic wrapping all of the pots to prevent the soil from coming out. So I'll show you for a plant that I might do it for now. I think I'm gonna be a bit more strategic about it this time around. Here I have my Monstera Thai Constellation, and it's a really tall, slender plant. So I'm gonna find my super tall and slender box. And I think I want to saran wrap or plastic wrap this pot because the soil isn't too far from the top level of the pot and I don't want it to go anywhere. So what I'm going to do is grab my plastic wrap and just take a sheet. I'm going to just put it around the top edge of the pot. I'm trying to keep it as snug to the the plant and the moss pole as possible. And then making it flush with the pot as well. I'm gonna have to get another sheet. And then kind of just closing the empty space that there's left. Okay, and so it's okay if it's not covering the entire pot because that doesn't matter. I'm trying to keep the soil from spilling out if I hit a bump or something while I'm driving. So this is very loose, and so I'm gonna grab my packaging tape and tape it up. I'm probably gonna start by taping the sides of the plastic wrap that are on the pot and then taping some of it on the top. I wanna make sure I'm not getting any tape on the plant itself because that would be bad when it's time for the tape to come off. And so I'm gonna tape all of the edges around the bottom because if soil does spill out from the top, it's gonna fall all the way down the plant and into the box, which if the box doesn't have like a hole in it, that's not a big deal, but I'd rather keep 100% of the soil in the pot because I mix my own soil and I don't wanna be wasteful. So I'm just gonna tape all the way around as best as I can. I get some of the tape on the pot to make sure that it sticks. Also just making a secure seal for the plastic wrap. And you can see why I don't want to do this for every single one of my 100 plants. It takes a really long time. But I didn't have any damaged or spilled or broken plants or pots in my last move. So it was definitely successful. It was a very safe way to package everything, but it was also very time consuming. And I had the time to do that because I was on summer from working in the schools. But now I do not work in the schools any longer and I don't have the summer off and I'm not taking time off to move. So we're trying to do this as efficiently as possible. Let's see. All right, so just tape all the way around. And I don't think I'm gonna put tape around the base because I don't want it to get stuck to the moss pole and then have to rip it out. That would just be a pain. So I'm gonna stick it in the bottom of this box, but there's gonna be a bunch of extra space in this box. So I have a couple of options. I can stuff it with bubble wrap, or I like to package all of the plant accessories with each plant because I can't remember what pebble trays go with which plants and which ones were on plant stands. And it's probably gonna change now that I'm in a different house just based on how I want things to look. And so I have this plant on a plant stand, so I'm just gonna stick the plant stand in as best as I can to try to support the plant without doing any damage. Okay, hopefully that will prevent it from moving around too much. And it had a drip tray, so I'm gonna stick that in there, as well as a fly trap. So I'm just gonna stick that in the drip tray, so hopefully it won't stick to anything else, and face it away from the plant. Okay, so this plant is good to go. I'm not really concerned about the leaves being hurt. I think the moss pole is supported, so even if this box does take a nosedive in my car, I think it's gonna be okay. So, tall skinny plants and tall skinny boxes. The plants that I will for sure plastic wrap around the base are my really big plants that aren't going to fit in a box. So I'm just gonna do the same thing I did before where I grab the plastic wrap and wrap it around the base. Definitely not going to win any awards with this plastic wrap job, but I think it will at least help with any dirt spillage that might occur. And right now I'm really just going for good enough, not super excellent. So I think this will do the job. An issue you might also run into is if you think a plant of yours has a pest, and obviously you want to quarantine it and keep it away from all your other plants so they don't also get a pest. But when you're moving plants, they're all very compact, and if one has it, the rest are gonna get it. So I use plastic bags or garbage bags, and I would just stick, I'm doing this retroactively, it was a poor idea. I'm gonna stick the grocery bag just over the plant, being careful of the foliage, so that anything that's on the foliage will stay on this plant and not the plant that is snugged up next to it. ton of little plants in like little 4-inch pots. And so I'm gonna pick a really, really shallow box. And I like to keep all of the flaps up when I'm packaging the plants. I keep them up because I think that it provides extra support, or if something's to spill, it'll most likely stay in the box, as well as protect the foliage a little bit more. So I have a bunch of 4-inch pots, and like I said, I'm only gonna wrap every other one in bubble wrap to keep it safe. If you're like me, you have little bits of extra space in there, and that's when like propagation vessels come in handy. I poured out about half of the water so that if it spills at all, no water is gonna come out. And then I'm just gonna stick them in like the tiny little spaces between the plants. Then I'm going to show you what this looks like now. Okay, so this is what we're left with. There's basically no extra space. I've bubble wrapped every other plant. Like I said, none of these plants have the plastic wrap on them. We'll see if I regret it later. I'll let you guys know. At the very least, the soil will still be kept in this box, even if some spills out, because I have the edges up. So I think that that's pretty good. There's not a ton of extra space. I have more water propagation vessels that I can stick in these little spaces that I think I'll try. But that's one box down. All right, next I want to take you guys with me to show you how I package them in my car. Come on. I have a little Toyota Corolla LE. It's a 4-door. And so I've put my long slender boxes, 2 of them across on the back seat, and both are seat belted. I don't know if you can see that. And then on the floor, I also have 2 of them just to keep them protected. The seats in front of them and the seat behind them, I think, keep it pretty snug. And then going around to the other side of my car, in the front seat, in the passenger seat, I will usually put a big box with lots of plants, or if I can, I'll have it seat belted. This box is too big, and then I usually put a really big plant that can't be in a box up there because I can kind of try to stabilize it while I'm driving. Just stick a hand out to grab it if it looks like it's falling. So yeah, that's how I pack my car. Buckle up, chillins. I'm going for a ride.
Are we there yet?
No, we haven't even left the driveway yet.